Hello there. Starting in chapter 3, we have quadratic functions and parabolas. So a quadratic function is a parabola, so it is a function that can be written as f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The graph of a quadratic function is the shape of a parabola. We've looked at parabolas already. So a quadratic function is a parabola, and it has that squared in it. So remember, when it has the cubed in it, that's cubic. When it has just regular x in it, like that one, for example, that would be a line. But when it has the x squared in it, that's parabola. And the turning point of it is called the vertex. The graph of a quadratic function is symmetric about a vertical line through the vertex. This vertical line is called the axis of symmetry. Okay, draw and label one here. So we have parabolas that can do this, and this would be your vertex. And right through here would be called your axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry means that's the line in which you could fold up that parabola, and it would be equivalent on both sides. A parabola can look like this. This would be the vertex and axis of symmetry there. Okay, the graph of a quadratic is a parabola. We've established that. The graph of a quadratic is determined by the location of the vertex. You look at how it opens up. That's how it opens upward. That's called concave up. That's this one here. Or it may open downward. This one's called concave down. The two ends of the parabola facing down, concave down, up, concave down. So concave up has this formula, and the vertex here is called a minimum. Okay, concave up, the two ends of the parabola point up, and the vertex is called a minimum. And if you notice here, the letter A is positive. Concave down is this formula, concave down, let me draw it. The two ends of the parabola point downward, and the vertex of it is called a maximum. And notice the A value here is negative. Okay. Example, given f of x equals 2x squared plus 3x minus 8, determine if the function is a quadratic. Is it a quadratic, meaning is it a parabola, meaning does it have a power of 2? Yes, it is a quadratic. Okay. If it is a quadratic, is the graph concave up or concave down? So concave up, concave down. We look at the A value here. If the A value is positive, this is the A, the B, the C. If A value is positive, it's concave up. If it is a quadratic, is the vertex a max or minimum? So if it's a concave up, the two ends of it point up, then the vertex is a minimum. Alright, how to find the vertex of a parabola. So we have a couple of ways to do it. A formula is one way to do it. The vertex of the parabola, when we graph it on the coordinate plane, the vertex is an ordered pair. So to find the x value of that vertex, we use the formula negative b over 2a. This is a and this is b. To find the y coordinate of the vertex, you plug in that x that you just found into the formula, or into the equation, formula, whatever you want to call it. So graphing. So find the vertex, and let's graph this one. And here is our formula. Here is our parabola. Is it a quadratic? Determine if the function is a quadratic. Is it a parabola? Does it have a power of 2? Yes. So yes, it is a quadratic. If it is a quadratic, is the graph concave up or concave down? We look at this A value here. This is our A, our B, our C. That very first number that goes with x squared is called your A number. That A number there is negative, so that means the two ends of it point down. So this one is concave down. So when it points down like that, is the vertex a maximum or minimum? When it points down like that, the vertex is a maximum. Find the vertex. All right, so here we go. We'll find the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Our a number in our problem is negative 2. Our b number in our problem is negative 4. So when we do the formula, we have the negative here, and then we plug in the b value, which is negative 4, over 2 times negative 2. So that's positive 4 over negative 4. You divide these and get negative 1. So the x value is negative 1. The y value is taking your formula and plugging in that x number that you just found. Y equals negative 2 times 1. Negative 1 squared, you have to do order of operations there. Plus 4, 2 negatives make a positive, plus 6. Negative 2 plus 4 plus 6, that's 8. The y value is 8, the x value is negative 1. Negative 1, 8 is the vertex. Sketch that graph. I'm going to look at the table for this in my calculator. I'll do my table settings, start at 0, count by ones, and I'm just going to write down some points from the table here. I can press zoom 6 and look at this, remember, zoom 6. And then look at points on the table. And I'll graph some of them. So table settings, I'll start at 0, count by ones, and table. So I'll back up and get that negative one there, a couple of these, negative 2, 6. Negative 1, 8, that was the vertex. 0, 6. I can get some more negative ones maybe. Let me see what 3 is. Negative 3, 0. 1, 0. 2, negative 10. You can get as many as you want. And draw that concave down parabola. Alright, the next one. How to find it using the calculator. So you put the equation into y1. Great, you graph it. Graph the parabola. And remember, you might have to do zoom 6. That's the normal one. Zoom 3 is zooming out. Zoom 0, zoom fit. Different things there. Under the calculate menu, you choose maximum or minimum. It's going to ask you 3 questions. Left bound, right bound, and guess. You have to actually move the cursor on those. And the vertex is that XY coordinate once you do that. Okay, so when using the graphing calculator, you got to make sure you have a good window. We might have to make some window adjustments so that we can see the vertex and then work the problem out. So this example, find the vertex. Okay, we can do it with the formula, and I'm going to, but I'm also going to show you in the calculator. So first I'm going to put it into y1. I'm going to press zoom 6. I'm going to change my Y minimum here in my window because I want to see a little bit more further down here. This is the Y axis and I want to see a little bit further down. Press window, and the minimum on my Y axis goes to negative 10. That's the standard window, but I'm going to make it go a little bit more, just negative 15. and press graph. Alright, so now I'm going to do this in the calculator. I'm going to calculate that right there, okay, and that is called the minimum. This is concave up, so the vertex is a minimum. So under calculate up here, you press second calculate and you choose minimum. It's going to ask you 3 questions. Just move your cursor to the left of that vertex, press enter. Move your cursor to the right of that vertex, press enter, and then get back on it and press enter for the guess part, and it'll tell you the minimum. It'll tell you that minimum is negative 1.25 and negative 12.125. Okay. If we did it by hand, x equals negative b over 2a that we just did. This is a, this is b, this is c. Negative b, that'd be negative 5 over 2 times 2. Negative 5 over 4. And if you type in negative 5 over 4, you get negative 1.25, which is the same thing we got here. So I did it by hand, and there's the calculator. The y value is plugging that back in place of x. So it's negative 1.25 squared plus 5 times negative 1.25 minus 9. Negative 12.25. 125. Okay, you can hit the math button and turn those into fractions if my math lab wants them that way. So that will be negative 97 over 8, that one. And let me do back the other one, negative 1.25. Hit the math button. Negative 5/4. Well, I thought I had, there it is, negative 5/4. I already had that anyways. Negative 5/4 as fractions. Okay, find the vertex. Next one. I'm going to press this one in y equals. I'm going to press zoom 6. Put it in y1. I press zoom 6. So there it is right there. This one is concave down. So that is called a maximum. So I have to calculate the maximum. Second, calculate maximum number 4. Left bound, that's good. Press enter. Right bound, get a little bit to the right of it. Press enter. Oops, press enter and guess. 0.4. 0.4 and negative 5.2. Alright. That's the vertex. We're finding the vertex here. Vertex. If I did it by hand over here, negative b over 2a. This is a, this is b. Negative of the 4 over 2 times negative 5. Negative 4 over negative 10 equals 4/10 equals 2/5. And if I do 2/5, that's 0.4. The y value, negative 5 over 0.4 squared plus 4 times 0.4 minus 6. Plug in what you get there. Negative 5.2, and it matches right there. If you need to do the fraction, math fraction, negative 26/5. So what was that other one? 2/5, 2/5, and negative 26/5. Alright, find the vertex. I'm going to do it in my calculator, the steps that I've shown you here. 3x squared minus 90x plus 505. I'm going to press zoom 6. So I put it in Y1. I did zoom 6. I'm going to do zoom 3. We don't see all of it, so I'm going to do zoom 3, zoom out a little bit. I see a little bit of it. It's down here. It's concave up. You can look at the positive value there. That means that that's positive. That means the two ends of it point positive. So it has a minimum. And I don't see that minimum. So I'm going to zoom 0, zoom fit, and see if it'll do a little bit better for me. There we go. Second, calculate a minimum. That's a good spot. Press enter. Might be a little bit too far. Let's see. Write down and guess. And 15 and negative 170. So I calculated a minimum and I got 15 and negative 170. Okay, you could do that by hand. X equals negative b over 2a. Negative of negative 90, that's your b value, over 2 times 3, that's your a value, 3. That's positive 90 over 6, that equals 15. There's the 15, the y value. You'd plug that back in. And get negative 170. Another way to look at the formula for parabola is given by this. This is called the vertex form. So when it's written like this, when it has the parentheses like that and it says x minus a number, and a just represents a number as well. A number will be here, a number will be here, and a number will be here. You're interested in these two numbers. That's the vertex when it looks like this. I'll show you these two examples. So when it looks like this, you're interested in the h and the k, and that's what the vertex is. So find the vertex of the parabola. All right, so we're interested in this number and this number. This is the x minus the h, and this is the k. So when it's like this, because of the minus sign in the formula, here's a little tip here, a little trick. You have to take the opposite of this number and this one will stay the same. So that's a positive one. Because of the negative in the formula, I'm going to take the opposite of it. So for the vertex of this one, I'll make it negative 1, and then this one stays the same. Negative 1 and 5 is that vertex. On the vertex, you could check that in the calculator if you wanted to, by doing it the way we did on the other examples. Find this vertex. All you're interested in is this parentheses part, this number here and this number here. That's your h and your k. The tip here is take the opposite of this number and keep this one the same. So if that's negative 4, you make it positive 4 and keep this one the same, negative 1. That's that vertex. All right, let's do a word problem. Suppose the monthly revenue is given by this particular formula. So revenue is this many dollars, and X is going to be selling the number of TVs. Determine if the vertex represents a maximum or minimum. All right, this is the X squared, so this is the A value. This is the regular X, this is the B value. Our formula is Y equals AX squared plus BX plus C. So our A number is negative, so that means it points downward. And so that means our vertex is a maximum. Find the vertex. Okay, you can do it in the graphing calculator or you can do it by hand. I'm just going to work this one by hand. It's going to be a large number. So X equals negative B over 2A. This is the B number in front of X. So negative of 600 over 2 times negative 0.1. Negative 600. 2 times negative 2 times negative 0.1. Negative 0.2 and negative 600 divided by negative 0.2. 3,000. Find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. Here's the y value of the vertex. I'm going to plug that back in. Negative 0.1 times 3,000 squared plus 600 times 3,000 equals 900,000. So interpret that vertex. I'll come answer this question, but let me write that vertex down. 300,900, or 3,000 and then 900,000. That's the vertex. That's the x. That's the y. The axis of symmetry is x equals that x number, 3,000. Axis of symmetry. Okay, interpret that vertex. X was the number of TVs sold. Y was, this is the Y number. R of X is your Y number. R of X, that's your revenue. So interpret that for 3,000 TVs sold. The revenue is $900,000. Graph that. Here's a tip. Alright, so we're going to put this in our graphing calculator, and our X minimum, maximum, I'm going to give you a little tip right here. Y minimum, maximum. X represents the TVs. I want you to double that. So if you have, if X represents TVs, you're not going to have negative TVs, so this is 0. And the maximum, I'm going to double that and put 6,000. So that's my tip. Double the X value. The Y values here, revenue, I'll put it at $0 and it goes up to 900,000. So go to Y equals, let's type in our formula from the paper, negative 0.1 x squared plus 600x. Window, my tip was double what our vertex was, so I put 6,000 there, and 0, and we have that maximum profit of 900, so that's as max as we need to go, and press graph. And there's our picture. So look at calculator for that picture. Vertex 3,000 and 900,000. And that's the axis of symmetry at that point 3,000. For what x values is the function increasing? Okay, x represents the number of TVs sold, so it's increasing right here, going up. So from 0 TVs up to that number 3,000 TVs, 0 to 3,000. What values is it decreasing? For 3,000 to 6,000. Decreasing. So what does that mean? For selling 3,000 TVs, profit increases. Selling more than 3,000 TVs, revenue actually starts to go down. Word problem. Another profit formula. X is the number of units sold, and we want to know that max profit. So I want you to look at this, and I want you to rewrite it. P of X equals negative x squared plus 212x minus 5,000. This is called descending order. That just puts it in the way that we've learned it in this lesson. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. X squared in the front, bx in the middle, and then the regular number, the constant number at the end. X is the number of units sold. P represents profit. That's your Y. So these are your X's. This is your Y. So to maximize profit, how many units must be sold, and what is that profit? So basically when they're asking you this, they're asking you what is the vertex. Okay, so let's look at how this opens. If that's negative, that means the ends of it open downward. This is called concave down. So we have that point right there, which is our vertex, and it is a maximum point. Okay, so they're asking us for, what is that number? What is that X number? What is that Y number? X would represent how many units sold to maximize the profit at the very top right there. Y would represent what that profit is. What is that profit? So we're going to find both of those numbers. So X equals negative B over 2A. Negative of 212 over 2 times negative 1. And I get 106. 106 units sold. And what would be that profit? I'm going to plug that in. And that equals 62.36. So, for 106 units sold, the max profit is 62.36. I'm going to type that in. 106 squared plus 212 times 106 minus 5,000. 62.36. All right. You're going to write an equation here, and on the next example, you're actually going to write the equation of a quadratic. And on this particular one, we're going to look at this V and this H. This V stands for initial velocity. That's your V. And this H stands for initial height. That's your H. You're going to plug in two numbers, okay? You're going to leave this number here. So this is talking about a ball being thrown, and it goes up in the air, falls back down. So it's going to take that shape like that, okay? So the negative 16t squared, that's explained in here. That's just due to gravity and everything. So that stays. You're just plugging in a number here, and we're going to put the letter T here representing t seconds. Okay, so a ball is thrown 64 feet per second from the top of an 80-foot high building. So this is the height. This is H. And this is the velocity, how fast it's going, 64 feet per second. That's how fast it's traveling. All right, so write that equation right here. So I'm looking up here. S of t equals negative 16t squared. I'm leaving that alone. And I'm plugging in the v here, which would be 64 plus 64. Put the t with it. Plus sign the h number here, which is the height, which is 80. You just wrote a quadratic equation based on this little formula here for the height of a ball. So that'll be a good one to remember next time you do some of these assignments. Find the t and s coordinate. T stands for the time in seconds. S stands for the height of the ball in feet. So this is your x's, this is your y's. So t and s, this is your x's and this is your y's. This is the time in seconds, and this is the amount in feet, the height of the ball in feet, excuse me. So it's asking me for the vertex. What is the vertex of this thing? This is our A, B, C. So we have our, well, I'm just going to do it by hand, negative B over 2A, negative of 64 over 2 times negative 16, negative 64 over negative 32, and that equals 2. The y value would equal negative 16, I'm plugging in that 2 squared, plus 64 times 2 plus 80, and that equals 144. I'll type all that in. So, find the t coordinate, find the s coordinate of the vertex. They're asking you to find x and y. They just use different coordinates, so it's 2 and 144. Explain that meaning. Okay, so if t was your seconds, and that's your x value, so that means at 2 seconds, the ball reaches a max height of 144 feet. Okay, last example. Alright, we're going to do this in our calculator. We're actually going to write the equation of a line, or equation of a quadratic. We had already learned how to write the equation of a line, so we're going to use our calculator to do this. This is called quadratic regression. Before we did linear regression in lesson 2.2. We did linear regression in 2.2, section 2.2. Now we're doing quadratic regression. So we're going to go to Stat and Edit. In List 1, we're going to put our X's. In List 2, we're going to put our Y's. And we go to Stat, Calculate. Before we chose number 4. That's where we do linear regression. That one is number 4. This time we're choosing quadratic regression, which probably is number 5. But let's look at it right here. It'll say quadratic regression. And just remember our formula, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And so you'll plug in what it tells you for a, b, and c. So this is a points on a parabola. This is going to be list 1, our x's. This is going to be list 2, our y's. So I go to Stat and Edit for that. Go up and clear these things out. Press Enter. Alright. -1. Let's see. Okay, maybe I'll have to do it here. -1. And x's are 0 and 1 and 2. And the y values are 13 and -2, -7, -2. So our calculator is going to write a formula for us for a parabola. Stat, over to Calculate. Mine is on number 5. Yours probably is, but it needs to say quad. That stands for quadratics. We're looking at quadratics today, which are parabolas. List 1 and list 2, and tell it to calculate for us. And it'll give us our formula. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. A is 5, b is -10, c is -2. So our formula is 5x squared minus 10. The b value is -10 minus 10. Put the x with it. And minus 2 at the end. I want you to type this in Y1. And then I want us to press Zoom Stat to look at this plot. Okay, make sure your plot is on. Plot 1 on. Alright, so here we go. Y equals. I'm going to clear that out. And I'm going to press 5x squared minus 10x minus 2. And I'm going to make sure my plot is on. Press Enter right there when you highlight that. And press Zoom number 9. Zoom Stat. We did this same stuff for linear regression. And there's our parabola being drawn through those points. Look at picture in calculator. All right, that's 3.1. You have a My Math Lab assignment.